Welcome to the Bigger Truth Podcast. I'm Scott McMahon. That image there was a picture of the 1920 Republican National Convention, and I think it was a pretty cool picture. So I wanted to share that. I'm going to give an update now on what happened today. It's kind of a wrap up of what happened today at the convention, and there are few things I'm going to cover. I'm going to talk about the credentials, the potential for chaos especially on Monday, and vice president pick, and also what most people are talking about at the convention. So, credentials. I talked about last night. Talked about the potential for and even what I felt was kind of a likelihood, perhaps, that the truly grassroots for Trump, the Flynn linked slate, would be reinstated at the credentials committee meeting today. And I was hoping that Trump would go 3-0 against Flynn in the committees. But I also kind of had a feeling that he might throw him a bone. And there were last night so they had just kind of like an hour-long introductory meeting last night, the Credentials Committee did. And at that meeting, or maybe just afterwards, I thought it was kind of strange that they allowed in some guests that had guest passes, and they were of the truly grassroots for Trump slate from Missouri. And they were really well organized. They had a lot of energy. They were really well organized. They had QR codes, sheets with QR codes, so people could scan, the committee members could scan and see just the facts. They were sharing the facts. Of course, they're facts. No opinion at all, of course, no color. However, they were definitely organized. There was somebody that was whipping also for the new slate, but they were not nearly as organized. And I was sent the information that both were sending out, and the information that the new slate, the replacement slate, was distributing was not really that helpful. It was like a 3.5 hour long video of some radio show. At least that's what I was sent. So I kind of knew when I saw that it was very likely that that we would see the RNC actually lose on this one. And Tyler Boyer was also very much involved, and I can hear my boys fighting upstairs. I don't know if you can hear that, but Tyler Boyer, he's the CEO of Turning Point Action. He put forward a proposal. He made a motion to accept the original slate, the Flynn linked slate, and that failed. That was at the RNC meeting, and it failed. And then he came and helped whip the vote. So anyway, it ended up passing unanimously. So all of the credentials committee members voted together to credential the original truly grassroots for Trump slate from Missouri. So of course, all of the anti-Republicans and Flynn-linked people all over the country are just celebrating. There's a power to the people, victory for the people. It's on the Gateway Pundit, and Joe Hoft especially was just absolutely thrilled. So, but it's really, like I said last night, it doesn't really matter. I think that my guess strongly is that there was some talking to, especially to the leadership of that slate, that would give them the expectation that they're not to try to create chaos on Monday. However, I do believe that the possibility for chaos on Monday is, it's pretty real. I know that the people are talking about it within these communities in several states. So I know here in Michigan, there's definitely talk about it. It's the one thing that they're interested in is when is the vote to approve the platform. So I think that they are going to try to change the platform on the floor, which would be very messy and be very ugly. I also believe that the rules make that extremely difficult, and I don't think that these people know that this isn't like their state conventions that they can just play rules for thee but not for me, and um, just do whatever they want. And so this is a different thing. I mean, this is not, like I've said in past updates, this is the national convention is not a playground for these people to play activist at and on the floor. And that's just not, it's not going to be tolerated. So I don't think that we're going to see, I think that they may try stuff, but it's going to fail. I just don't see how it's possible that, um, that these people can disrupt. And I don't think most of the people that are going don't want to see that. The biggest thing that people are talking about, what I've been told all week, the biggest thing that people are talking about is this Flynn linked anti-Republican movement. Exactly what I've been reporting on for the last 6 months. That's what everybody is talking about. It's happening everywhere. I've heard that's talking in Delaware and Arkansas, of course, the other states that I've covered, Vermont, Hawaii. You know, it's happening everywhere, and to varying degrees of success. Um, and it's unfortunate, and I think we're going to see there's 47 new RNC committee men and women. Turning Point was very much involved in that, and there's definitely some overlap. I think I kind of think of it as like a Venn diagram, like Kamala Harris really likes, where there's just some overlap. You know, that I don't think that Turning Point is always aligned with Flynn at all, but there are times when they're together and where they overlap, and so it's not ideal. I think that, you know, everybody's in it for power. There's a lot of people in it for power, but it's interesting, and we'll see where it goes. I think it's excellent that people are talking about it. People are starting to recognize it, and I think the more that we can recognize the harm that's being caused, and that's why I put out that story today about the leaked conversations from Liz Harris, is that it really shows how not just chaotic, but how destructive these people are. And not just Liz Harris, but really primarily Shelby Bush is a deeply destructive individual. And she has an agenda. She is clearly led by Patrick Byrne and Mike Flynn, and she is following their agenda. And it's stunning. So let's talk about VP, because I think it's probably more fun. The I don't know what Trump's going to do, but one of the things in the conversations that I had today that surprised me the most is several people there that are actually like pretty well connected and pretty close to Trump think that he actually hasn't even made his decision yet. I found that pretty surprising. So, you know, I don't know if that's true. Maybe he's made the decision. He's just keeping it completely to himself. But that kind of leads me to believe that maybe he's choosing somebody outside of the top three that has been published, which is Marco Rubio, Doug Burgum, JD Vance. I think, you know, the thing about JD Vance, and I know that's a popular pick among Trump supporters. He's kind of like Trump Jr. Like he doesn't really add any constituencies that Trump doesn't already have. And I think that that's really the way that I would hope that Trump's thinking about it. And I think he is. I'm certain that that's the way that he's being advised, is to think about his pick in terms of constituencies that his pick will add, and to help round him out. And if he can choose somebody that's going to help to make him stronger, while also bringing in some people that may be sitting on the fence, especially moderates and independents who may be sitting on the fence about voting for him, then I think that, you know, the purpose of the running mate is to make it more likely that he's going to win. It's not necessarily to appease the base. And so And that's one thing that I find really troubling about Turning Point in particular, is that they really promote ideas that aren't really in harmony with Victory in November. And this is one of them. This is a big one. I mean, they're really all in on JD Vance, and I like JD Vance. If I were to choose the next president after Trump out of those three, I'd certainly choose JD Vance. But that's not what this is about. This is about winning here in November. And after 4 years, if we don't like whoever the Trump's vice president is, we can pick somebody else. It's happened many times before. It's not an inevitability that whoever Trump chooses as running mate is going to be the next presidential nominee. There a lot of people talk about Tulsi Gabbard as an outside kind of dark horse that could bring a lot of excitement to the campaign, and then again, in that same thing too, that same argument, is she even a Republican? I don't know if she's even a member of the Republican Party. I know she's in Hawaii. I don't know if they register with a party there. I know she's been a Democrat all of her life. So, there's a lot of people that have been Democrats all their lives that now say that they're Republicans, that are working to kick out all the rhinos and take over the Republican Party, and have made it a huge mess. So, I understand why a lot of people would be really nervous about Tulsi Gabbard. Doug Burgum, I think, could appeal to a lot of people that might be more, in the moderate camp. And there's a lot of Trump's, or what's considered his base, that they really do not like him. I do think it's kind of weird that nobody's ever heard of him until 6 or 8 weeks ago when he entered the conversation. He's a good speaker. He's a good candidate. And I think that there's a lot that he could bring. I also heard today that he could, there's this sudden infighting over abortion within the party. And that's, that, like I said, that could be the source of chaos there. And I talked about that at some length in previous updates, but I think that the abortion issue is one that I think Trump is completely in the right in setting this to the states. And this is not something that should be really on the ballot for the president. He has no intention whatsoever of instituting, he's made it clear, a national ban on abortion. And I think that would be unconstitutional. I think that it needs to be state by state. And we need to, as Republicans who care about life, we need to work on winning those arguments on the local level until we can win it on the state level. And, we got to focus on winning those arguments in our churches and in our communities with our neighbors. And if we can't do that, we can't win on the state. I mean, we've got to do the work. We're not entitled to have what we want because we're Christians. That's silly. That's not even a Christian belief, like that you're entitled to whatever it is that you think is right. And that by calling somebody evil or satanic, that justifies bad behavior. It's crazy, but that's the way these people act. And it's really unfortunate, and I hope it changes. And I think we need to talk about it. We need to confront it. The idea at its core that Christians should not compromise is absolutely wrong. It's the most unloving thing you could do is to say my way or the highway. We are called first and foremost. Jesus said the first commandment is to love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. And the second is to love your neighbor as you love yourself. So being uncompromising with your neighbor is the opposite of love. So, anyone who says that Christians should not compromise, they're either not a Christian or they're just not thinking things through. They're not thinking, they're putting politics ahead of God's word and Christ's commandments. So I hope that changes. I hope we can have that conversation. I hope that we can make these arguments effectively and reject this, let cooler cooler minds and cooler feelings prevail. Um, I think back to Lincoln. I had that picture of the 1920 convention, but I think back to Lincoln, and when he first ran for president, in his first convention, the first Republican convention, he ran on a platform of moderation. He wasn't even the leader going into that. He wasn't even expected to win the nomination going into that convention. I forget the name of the other guy that was expected to win, that was the favorite going into it. And that man was taking an extremist perspective. He was saying, slavery is evil. We need to fight to end it now. We need to get into the Civil War right now. We need to end it. So the parallels are unbelievable, right? I mean, that was the approach. It's evil. It's satanic. We need to end it, and we need to just go to war. And Lincoln's message was, no, like, we need to think clearly. We need, I don't want to be an extremist. I am a moderate. I believe in moderation and being level-headed and doing, thinking clearly before I act. And that was really the majority of his message as I've read about it. And he won the nomination. That was what appealed to the majority at that convention, was moderation. And I think the Republican Party should be the party of moderation. It should be the party of reason, not the party of emotions. We're gonna let the Democrats be all emotional. We need to stop allowing ourselves to be emotionally manipulated. And that's what these people are doing. That's what the Tony Perkins of the world are trying to do. And so I am hoping and praying that we are not an emotional wreck on Monday, and that we go in and that we really come together to elect President Trump and to beat the Democrats in November, to strengthen our majority in the House and to build a majority and take a majority in the Senate and take back blue state houses, and like in Michigan, and protect our Republican majorities where we have them. So that's what this is about. The Republican Party exists to elect Republicans. It's so simple, and it is completely lost on so many people who are new to the party, because that's the design, because the gatekeepers that control them don't want them to believe that. They don't want them knocking on doors, because when they knock on doors, they learn some humility. I mean, you can't knock on more than 100 doors without gaining some humility about you can't control what voters think. and I have yet to knock on to meet somebody who has knocked on 1,000 doors who believes that you got to kick out all the rhinos. It's not a realistic view, and the people who really know how to get things done in the party, they're not rhinos. They're not established, but they're established because they've been there. But that is who we should be looking to for leadership. We should respect our elders. We should learn from those who know more than we do. We should learn from those who came before us, not just kick them out. I mean, that's Marxist. That's Marxism. And that's what this is ultimately. It's a Marxist movement that is play pretending Christianity, and I hope it fails. So I appreciate you watching. I hope that you can play a role in causing that to fail. And I know I didn't answer the question about who's Trump going to pick, and I don't envy President Trump. I'm going to pray for him, and just that God gives him wisdom in this choice, and that he makes a choice that's going to help him to win, because I think that's the best outcome for all of us, for all Americans, is if Trump wins. I mean, look at whoever the Democrats put forward, whether it's Joe Biden or Kamala Harris or Gretchen Whitmer or whoever. it's the end result is really going to be the same. It's going to be terrible judicial appointments. It's going to be an attempt to take over the Supreme Court, which has been the one thing that has kept things reasonably sane in this country, is the Supreme Court. And that's their number one. They want to remake the Supreme Court. They want to add justices. They want to, they want to do what happened in Brazil, where all of a sudden people don't have any rights at all. It could happen that fast, and that's really what's at stake here. So I think that that's going to come across loud and clear at this convention. I'm excited to see what unfolds, and I'm excited to meet so many good people and to share what I learned with you. I am very grateful. I've had a lot of new subscribers this week, and I'm very grateful for that. If you could subscribe, if you're not a subscriber, please do. I'm going to be almost all my content next week is going to be for paid subscribers only. I will be doing some stuff to point to the Substack and some like brief summaries, but I'm going to be doing at least 1 or 2 updates a day. I hope to do some interviews, just kind of impromptu, spontaneous interviews, and share those. And I will do my best to give you the story behind the story and help you to see what's going on as much as I'm able to behind the scenes. So it should be a lot of fun, and I look forward to seeing you there. So thanks a lot.